Good afternoon, and welcome to our webinar titled Dealer Insights: How Real-Time Tracking Stops Missed Opportunities for Hicks Automotive Group. My name is Susan Givens. I'm the publisher of AutoSuccess and your moderator today. Our webinar is sponsored by Call Review. Did you know that your dealership can seize missed opportunities through real-time tracking while customers are actively seeking assistance? Or an internal text alert system can identify prospects for department leaders to act on. During today's webinar, our guest speaker will explain how he was able to revolutionize customer engagement at his dealership and capture lost business. But before we get started, let's go ahead and just address some housekeeping items. As part of this webinar, we're going to have a live Q&A session. Our speaker will address as many questions as he can during the last portion of the event. To improve your chances of your question being addressed, don't wait till the very end to ask. Ask as they occur to you. You can do that by simply just typing your question in the Q&A box and then click submit. This webinar is being recorded and it's going to be available for you on demand to view. We encourage you to direct your coworkers to the recorded presentation. You'll receive an email with a link to the on-demand version in a few days, and then it's also going to be on the AutoSuccess website. Within this webinar software, you're going to have the ability to open, close, and resize different elements on your screen. If you want to receive a certificate of attendance or share the webinar via email, click on the appropriate icon within the black toolbar on the left side of your computer screen. If you're viewing on a mobile device, you may want to open a menu just to view the different components. Your feedback helps us make our events even better. Please click the survey icon to leave your comments about today's topic and presenter. The survey will also launch at the end of the presentation. If you need help at any point during the webinar, just click the help icon for some troubleshooting tips. And finally, if your slides stop advancing, or if you're having problems with audio, just try pressing the F5 key at the top of your keyboard or Command R if you're on a Mac. It'll refresh the webinar console and bring you back to the webinar. All right, let's get to the good stuff. We would like to present Charlie Hicks. He will be joining us today. He's the dealer principal of Hicks Automotive Group based out of Corpus Christi, Texas. Charlie, thank you so much for joining us. We're so excited to have you. Anytime we can get a dealer on our webinars, you just bring wealth of information and knowledge to us. So thank you for joining us today. I would love for you to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Susan, thanks for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. We've been in business 50 years. This is our 50th year this year. We started with a Datsun franchise back in 1973. So needless to say, we've seen a few things evolve in the industry during that 50-year window. One thing we do is we don't do everything the same way we did 50 years ago. And we certainly know the customers are acting differently today than they did over the last 4 or 5 decades. And most recently, last 2 or 3 years have been an extreme learning curve for all of us as we try and figure out that new consumer behavior, navigating through the pandemic and in the new normal, whatever that's going to be. We still don't know the answer for that. For us, fortunately, we've grown to 5 stores. We have 235 employees across 5 different campuses. So having a consistent process in the way we do things is critically important to our success. And we're really blessed to have a lot of really, I think, very powerful team members that are connected with us and understand the importance of delivering a tremendous customer experience. So glad to be a part of today's webinar and looking forward to sharing what we do down here in Corpus Christi.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I definitely want to chime in. I've done a little research on your automotive group and just the community involvement that you have and just how many engaged charities you guys do within the group. So, thank you for just being a positive impact on our industry. How exactly did you get involved in the automotive industry?
Well, I think I was DNA, directed towards that. So we were found. My parents started the company back in 1973. So one of the things we always did was make sure we connected with the community at every level because, people have choices. And if they need a car, if they need service for their automobile, they've got options. We need to be the one they think of first. And very, very blessed to be involved with some really positive charities that do a lot of work for our community. We're in a pretty challenging part of the world down here in Texas. Great state to be in, but median income's a little bit tough in this part of the world. So a lot of people need help, and we do the best we can with our resources to help those people find a better quality of life and give them some options, and certainly do the best we can to provide great service and a sales experience.
Great. Can you explain how your dealership utilizes real-time tracking to identify missed opportunities? And how does this process work to reconnect with customers seeking support or answers?
That we found that the phone has become critically important over the last couple of years. Form leads, people, the whole digital retailing experience exploded, and we were already into DR with Roadster and some other partners that we have, but the customers are just transacting in a different way. They still want that touch and feel at some point during the process, but we had to open up the options for the way they communicate with us. We have live operators at all of our stores, so we don't have any kind of automated phone system that routes people by department. So we have a live person answering. That's been a challenge. As we all know, the labor market's pretty difficult now. So finding, coaching, training those people to provide a professional handling of the call can be challenging at times, especially when you're across 5 campuses. So what we've done is we engaged Call Review back in 2022. We actually did a test drive with them and another provider for about 3 months before we made the decision. And it really came down to which tool met our needs and our people were most comfortable in using. So February of 22, we launched, gotten a relationship with Call Review. And then the text alert system has really been at the core of what we do to help track those calls to make sure we don't miss opportunities. For us, we have managers involved immediately. And I think that's a critical part of the puzzle, because having the alert come in, you have a really tight window to respond. And the quicker we can get a manager who's the most skilled person on our team to be able to engage that customer, that's where we really see the most value. So that across the store, whether it's fixed ops, variable ops, really doesn't matter. The management team is fully engaged, and we've got a couple things that we do to help drive that response rate up, because we understand the importance of getting connected with that customer quickly. Because if we miss the opportunity and we don't get back in touch with them quickly, they're going to go straight to their phone or their tablet or PC, Google search the next option to solve their problem, whether it's to buy a car, service their car, buy a part. They're going to start looking because they have an immediate need. We have to get there really quickly. And I think we're doing a pretty good job of that.
Could you just elaborate on your dealership's internal text alert process for missed sales and service calls?
Yeah, that was, we developed that after bringing our team together. We made the decision to go with Call Review by getting all the department heads together and saying which tool works best. One of the things we all talked about was who should get the alerts, how quickly should they get the alerts, and by department it varies. So a sales opportunity could be anything from a sales question, it could be a finance question, it could be really anything related to the sales process. And then service and parts, those needs could be different. So it really took full engagement across the management spectrum inside our group to make sure everybody was comfortable in understanding their role and how quickly they needed to respond. So we created an internal text tool, and we really use that to make sure that the alert goes to the proper department managers. At that point, that department manager has a responsibility, whether it's 3 or 4 managers, which it could be that many in any particular store, somebody claims that alert. So our internal text system, that group says, I got it, just call the customer, scheduled appointment for 3 o'clock. So they claim it, they give an updated status, and then that manager owns that lead all the way through to closing. So we know that it's important to keep the leads closed so we keep the system fresh. And it's working really, really well. The team understands the value in being able to quickly get to that customer, but they also understand the importance of holding on to that lead at the management level. So once we get that customer's confidence restored and they're back to either scheduling appointments, scheduling service, or maybe getting the part quote or availability of a part, once they get that information from us, then we can move towards our team and ask them to help execute the plan. But it all stays in the leadership group's hands to make sure we quickly respond. And that internal text system is really at the core of what helps us stay on top of it.
I would say that this really helps with retention and keeping those customers coming back too, just with, having such a process and just a very routine way to do it.
It really does. What the problem was when we first signed up, the text alerts were going to the right people, but we didn't know who owned it. And so there was a bit of confusion internally for us, because I would read it and you'd read it as another department manager. I assumed you got it, you assumed I got it. Nobody took ownership. So We found this internal way of communicating with the group so everybody knows immediately. Now, the good thing is we include our general manager for each store is on each text alert for that store. And their role is to make sure that the leads are being responded to. And if the lead's not responded to or claimed by a manager within 5 minutes, that's our bar is 5 minutes, the GM will either own it and call the customer directly or reach out to the department manager and say, I need you on this. So don't have to go to that very often because the department managers are doing a really good job of owning, claiming, owning, updating, and ultimately closing their alerts.
I guess it starts with the ownership within. So just having a process that, encompasses that is kind of where you need to start.
It does, and it lets everybody know that if I'm off for lunch or whatever and an alert comes in, I don't have to worry that my department's having these alerts stack up because frankly, calling a missed opportunity 20 minutes later, you already lost that business. They've moved on. The customers have options and they will move to another provider to solve whatever their immediate automotive needs might be.
You're so right. It's mentioned that management takes the lead on reaching out to customers who've missed customer calls. Can you share some insights into how your leadership team approaches this and what strategies have been effective in re-engaging customers?
Yeah, the beauty of having the managers own these leads and claim them is that you can really control the process with a much smaller group. If we tried to reach out and include all the salespeople and the service advisors and the parts advisors and coach them up on how to do it across the spectrum, that'd be hard to really pull a complete process and execute it correctly. So what we felt like was the management team owns it. It always starts with a, hi, my name's Charlie Hicks with the Hicks Automotive Group. Sorry we missed your call. How can I be of service? And that sets the tone with the customer. You identify yourself, who you're with, and they know immediately you're there to help service, and you apologize for missing the call. But we thought initially, there might be some pushback with people going, wow, why'd you call me back so fast? Maybe some kind of big brother feeling, but have had zero negative response from customers with that quick callback from a manager. And once it's a leader and a manager, they're the most skilled at being able to understand and assess that need and what needs to be done with that particular customer at that time. And then they can get that customer fully re-engaged and move forward with the call. So it's been exciting to watch the customers and their response to the positive response to our quick reply to their missed opportunity.
Yeah, and I would say just having, as a consumer, having management reach out to me, it would make me feel very special too. So I think it does a couple things for sure.
It does. It takes it to another level. It's not just an operator calling back or, you have to identify yourself because a lot of times when somebody calls us back after a missed call, it's like, who is this? What do you want? With us, it's pretty simple. We know why they called. Well, we know they attempted to call. We know we missed it. And so a manager calling back and taking that leadership and ownership position with the customer, it makes them feel special and lets them know that we're a responsive company doing everything we can to make sure we satisfy whatever needs they have.
Absolutely. What kind of feedback have you received from customers regarding the quick response from your team and capturing the lost business? And can you share any success stories or anything positive that you've heard from your customers regarding that?
Yeah, I laugh because it reminds me of a great story about it. So the customers have been thoroughly impressed. They view it as just a business who is professionally attempting to reconnect with them. And no one wants a missed call. It happens. We lose them for call disconnect, voicemail, didn't leave a message. The alert system is really set up to give us a clear view. It comes with a transcription and or a quick view of the recording of the call so we can listen to it. But for us, we really, it's a quick look at the alert, make that call to the customer, and our guys are prepared and our ladies are prepared to do whatever it takes to take care of the customer. So they really can't find something that they don't have an answer for. But a great success story was 3 days into our relationship with Call Review. We missed a call at our Nissan store. It was a finance call. Customer called in, tried to get a finance manager. Finance manager wasn't available, missed the call. So my GSM in the store called the customer back. And he said, I understand you tried to reach the finance department. Apologies, we weren't available. How can I assist? And the customer was asking us, I want to cancel some products that I bought because he believed by doing that he could lower the payment on his car. So instead of just engaging the customer in the process for canceling the products, the GSM did the right thing. He started to do a little needs assessment. What are you really trying to accomplish here? To find out the customer is trying to lower their payment. Well, in most cases, you can cancel your products, but it's going to be reduce the amount owed on the loan at the end. It's not going to lower your payment. So he had, took some time, visited with the customer, asked him what his needs were. To come to find out, they had 2 vehicles financed. They were trying to figure out a way to lower their total monthly outlay for vehicles. And mind you, this was COVID period. Used car values were high. This was before the interest rates started to rise. So it was a pretty good window where people that had loans possibly had equity, when the period before that they might not have had equity. So he talked to the customer, set an appointment. The customer came in, and I'll skip to the end of the story, which is the best part. Customer ended up trading 2 cars in, buying 2 new Nissans, and lowered his monthly investment across both loans by 25%.
Wow.
So that was all from a missed finance call asking to cancel products that I believe, and our team believes, we probably never would have had that result had it not been routed through our system to try and take care of the customer. So I tell you, it got us addicted to call review really, really fast. So, it proved to the group, and that, of course, all the stores knew that story. And we've had those type of success stories at the other stores as well. But that was really right out of the gate with our new tool. We found that nugget. I mean, it was fantastic.
That's powerful. That's
Yeah.
that's customers for life right there.
Big time. Because we helped them. I mean, we helped solve their biggest problem. They were trying to reduce their budget and not just cancel products. And we were able to do that. And they got 2 new cars, warranty, the whole deal. It worked out perfectly for them and for us.
That's great. So we've talked a little bit offline about periodic reviews of performance by store and department. How do these reviews help in keeping your team engaged and improving customer service?
Well, I got to brag a little bit on our account manager at Call Review, Holly Rose. I mean, she's pretty strict on us. She doesn't let us hide. So we did a monthly call, and she's grouped our stores, which helps. So we have 2 calls a month, and we'll put a couple stores in one call and 3 stores in the other. And all the managers are on, even if it's not their store, they'll hop on the call, because we always learn something. We're benchmarking against best in class to make sure we're not losing calls based on, offline calls, couldn't reach an agent, all those critical things that trigger these alerts. So the periodic reviews help us learn and grow. It's a bit exposing for some, because if your department's sliding in the wrong direction, it's, we're going to see it, and it's luckily we're going to talk about how to solve it as a group, not just an individual. The periodic reviews also include 3 months of tracking. So we get to see current month and previous 2 months. So you get a sense of your trend. Are we trending down and our performance degrading a little? Or are we improving? And if so, do we know why we're improving? It really helps to celebrate the wins when we see us correcting an area that's of opportunity and moving up. And it helps us all come together and figure out how to stop a slide and turn that back around and get back to benchmark. But those reviews, they help us all just it's an hour at the most. And that's probably 15 minutes of Q&A with Holly answering questions. She's really good about being prepared. A lot of vendors that we deal with, it seems like they pull up the screen to review your account at the same time they're seeing it for the first time. With Holly, she's done her homework. She's got examples of calls that she can share, that's an example of why we might be successful in an area or challenged in an area. So she always helps to put color and context to it, and not just simply look at a dashboard, because we don't need another dashboard. I mean, every vendor wants to give you their dashboard, and we don't spend a lot of time in that. Holly does a good job of finding those examples that help us really sharpen our sword.
This is just such a really good example of, finding the right dealer partners. How important is it, just across the board, to find a really great vendor partner that you can rely on and work together with in our industry?
Well, I tell you, it's kind of like interviewing employees. Sometimes you get them that give you a great interview up front, and then once you're in a relationship with them, it's not what the interview. It doesn't turn out to be the same thing you heard in the interview. So it's a challenge. And I mean, we've become more demanding, I think, on our reps. I mean, our stores now, we have 5. We're not a big group, but with 5 different stores and the amount of employees we have, it's important to have consistency across the board. And, for us, the process is we reach out to our dealer colleagues and ask them, do you have a good relationship? We did that with the call review folks. We talked to 5 or 6 dealers that had been in a relationship with them for a while to determine if this was a sustainable, program that could help drive business and capturing those missed opportunities. But, sometimes that bar is high and a lot of vendors don't make it over that bar. But, like I said, we compared call review with another provider back in the period of time we made our decision, and it was a close race. There's others in the space that do pretty good job, but everybody hands down was, call reviews they've got it refined, their tool is refined, and it's continued to evolve as we need it to evolve to help us run our business.
That's great. Could you describe the impact of meetings where calls, both successful and unsuccessful, are played for your team? And how does this practice contribute to improving telephone performance and customer interaction?
That's, I think, one of the most powerful things we use the tool for. I tell you, people don't like to hear their own voice, especially on a recording. Maybe Jim Nance, with Hello Friends, but for the most part, most people don't like to hear their voice. But we use it and we have to use it in a positive way. If it was just going in there and listening to bad calls, it wouldn't be a productive session. But we have a regular meeting, both in fixed ops and in sales, and we integrate the call reviews once a month, right? So that's enough time, and you need to celebrate the wins and focus on areas of improvement. So we typically, balance it out where there's enough good calls to celebrate and a few uh-ohs to have to deal with. But everybody learns and grows. We let the call play completely, because if you put somebody or someone asks you a question and you're typing on your computer for 30 seconds with no interaction with the customer, man, when you hear that in real time, that feels like an hour. It's just, it's a heavy pause. And we have that happen occasionally. We learn and grow that you have to stay engaged with the customer and not just answer their questions, but follow a path of needs assessment to find out, are we getting everything we can to take care of the customer, but also make sure we're doing it in the most efficient way for us. So always good to have those sessions. We, once the call is played, it opens for discussion, and we find it's usually less the management team providing direction. We let the colleague, the sales consultants or the service advisors or the parts advisor, we let them start to talk about the call of their colleague. And it's a pretty powerful session, because they'll hear something and call somebody out on it. And, that competitive spirit's a good thing for everybody.
That's a great training exercise for sure.
Yeah.
In your experience, what are some of the common challenges your veterans face in maintaining focus on telephone performance, and how does your dealership address these challenges?
Well, thank God for our veterans. We're glad to have them here working for us. We've with a 50-year history, we've got a lot of long-term employees. Some of our salespeople have been with us for 25 years. So, and advisors have been here that long. So it's a challenge. And the challenge is that they've developed a relationship with your loyal customers, right? In our case, about 74% of our business comes from repeat and referral customers. So that's a large quantity. I mean, it's a blessing to have that, because it lets you really weather difficult times. But it's also can be a curse, because your veterans in each position, they develop a relationship with that customer, sometimes even on a personal level. So trying to control and manage a professional performance in their role in our store and balance that against the relationship they might have with the customer, it really becomes a bit of complacency. They become comfortable in the way they communicate with customers. And you hear those calls and sometimes like, wow, well, that might be how they would talk if they were at a meet and greet at car show, or they might talk about it if they saw them at dinner. But if the customer called in and needed something, we really need to provide the full show, right? We have to provide a full experience for them, even if it's their 10th car or the 15th time they've come in for service. We have to provide a certain level of professional support for that customer at that time. So the veterans are challenging, but they've also, when you play these calls for them, it's interesting to watch how they react. They don't shy away from it. They'll own it, and they'll try and say, well, maybe, that's just how I talk to him or her. The reality is, normally it's another veteran sales consultant that will call them out and point out where they could have improved their performance. And when those sparks fly, and that's an arena that's fun to be in, because once that gets going, the two of nobody wants to be second, especially if you're the leader or the veteran. So it's fun to watch that when it happens. But they're still open. That was one of our areas of concern, believing would they be able to adapt and embrace this kind of visibility on their performance. But once everybody knew the calls could be recorded and could be played, it elevated everyone's performance, even the veterans.
That exercise could make for a good live video. If you're
Uh,
interested, just let me know.
no, we have to bleep out some stuff, I think, but that's okay. We occasionally have to do that. So.
All right, well, let's kind of shift gears to the other side and talk about new hires. What have you found to be the most crucial lessons regarding the importance of handling incoming phone call opportunities effectively, and especially in the context of your dealership's practices?
Well, everybody knows new hires are a challenge. I mean, you think about it right now, we have 4 generations with almost completely different belief systems operating and working together today, right? And some of these grew up with a text first mindset. So they aren't even used to communicating with people face to face and or on the phone. What we've done to try and get ahead of that is we do a phone interview as a pre-hire qualifier. And if you call and talk to somebody before they're hired on the phone, if they can't have a simple phone conversation with you that's professional and comfortable and they're confident, then it's likely they can't deliver that if they come to work for you. So we try and do that at the pre-hire process. We also make sure that we ask them a simple question. And regarding specifically phone calls, what is a successful phone call? Because some of them just don't know. And they usually get stumped. I don't know. I guess set an appointment. Well, that's at the core a lot of what we try and do. But today, customers need more than just thanks for calling. When can you come in? I mean, you can't jump to that. You've got to be flexible and earn the right to give them enough value in the call to believe that there's a need for them to come in. And we all know customers are shopping online, doing more online research, probably visit our website, and they're not shopping more than 1 to 2 dealers before they make a decision. So we really need to be critical of handling that incoming call correctly. And certainly with a new hire, you have to make sure that they understand the importance of that and are willing to follow, I wouldn't call it a script, but follow a professional approach to that call that may not be what they're comfortable with. They might have to become comfortable feeling uncomfortable, but that's what we coach them up for, to make sure they understand the importance of taking care of that customer, especially in that initial contact if it's via phone. So they'll want to transition to text as quick as they can. The new hires will, but we've been surprised. There's some old souls in some of these younger generations that seem to pop up, and when they do, boy, we grab them and hang on to them, because they're able to kind of communicate both up and down generationally, which is a great skill.
Do you feel like sometimes that younger generations, those new hires, they learn from the veterans?
Yeah, it's interesting that they're critical of them, right? But they also understand that the veterans have been doing it for a while, so it's likely they know what to do. They're not perfect, the veterans make mistakes, but the new hires are receptive to, I think, watching and observing, and then maybe taking 2 or 3 things away from that veteran that they can make their own, because they are not going to be the veteran. They can't say the same thing that the veteran says and expect the same results, especially if they're dealing with new customers that they've never had or never met. That's a different conversation than a loyal customer that's calling their friend in the car business to buy another car, get their car serviced, right? That's a different conversation. Right. So it's challenging for the new hires, but they usually get assigned the orphan owners. When we have salespeople leave, the new hires will pick up those orphans, and that's a whole different strategy of how to make that initial contact, introduce yourself, and become that replacement for that sales consultant who's no longer on the team, who may have moved on to a different career, retired, or whatever they might have done. So there's a whole slew of challenges that come with trying to get those new hires properly connected with those customers that are orphaned.
Thank you so much for that. In a few moments, we're going to begin our Q&A portion of this webinar. But before we do that, I'd like to ask everybody to complete our survey. Audience members, we need your feedback. And as a special incentive to complete the survey, we're going to offer you a $10 Amazon gift card to 25 randomly selected people who complete today's survey. The survey is going to appear in the middle of your screen shortly. If you don't see it, you can launch it by going to the black toolbar on the left side of your screen and clicking the survey icon. All right, let's get started. We do have some audience questions, Charlie, if you're ready.
Sure.
Okay, as management, how do you use the data analytics that call review gives you?
Well, the beauty of that is we put all our team on the calls, right? So we have 2 calls a month, and we do go down the analytics. It's broken out by departments. We have sales, service, and parts. And for us, it's easy to look. We always want to be best in class or benchmark. The other part I like about the analytics is that they are a trend analysis. So they're not just looking at here's where you are month to date and here's where the best in class is, but it's here's where you're moving in that category for the last 3 months. And that gives you a real read. It may not be who we want to be, but it is who we are. And so for us, it's important to look at that, to hold ourselves accountable and make sure we invest the time to improve our performance and make sure that we take that feedback and coach up our teams so that they know how to refine their process and the way they handle calls. It's critically important for us to look at that data, once a month, just to keep everybody on the same path.
Are you using your call tracking data to gauge how your marketing is helping to get customers to connect with your sales team for either a car that's on the lot or a service promotion?
That's the one area that's still kind of we're struggling with, and it's more internal on our part just to figure out, how to get reliable data, because you can find all kinds of data that will lead you down the wrong path. But connecting that marketing investment and those call alerts are critically important for us to be able to know, what's working and what's not working. We have other vendors too, and we're trying to get synergy between all the vendors, because if you can look at a dashboard for search and SEO and website performance and other marketing investments we have, but it's the digital space where I always grew up believing everything is measurable. Everything is measurable, but everything, how do you attribute enough to any particular provider? Attribution is the biggest challenge. And so for us, we rely on the call alert process to really help stop that leakage of missed opportunities. And it's been the most successful in providing that. So that's where we derive the most value, but certainly are working towards trying to connect the marketing piece of it along with how call reviews process and data can help us.
You make a good point on how valuable the call alerts for management. Has this made a positive impact on your CSI?
Oh, it really has. We haven't done a tracking back to see that the missed call opportunity that turned into a service repair or a sale, as that customer CSI was more elevated than it would be if we hadn't missed the call. But the belief within the leadership team is these calls are valuable. And that's not because I tell them they're valuable as the owner, but it's because they know and they have examples of where a missed call was saved. We saved a missed opportunity. We initially thought, man, how much of this has been happening before we engaged call review that we never knew about? And that's what, if you look back, that's the frightening part of our business. I mean, we've been here a long time and we're successful, but boy, none of us want to miss an opportunity, especially one that's so easy to reconnect with. And knowing the value of a quick response to a customer that has an automotive need, the more we can stay focused on that, that's where the true value of the system comes from. So for us, it's, we have to make sure that we stay focused on that and continue to drive to improve our performance at every opportunity.
What features or benefits did you evaluate before making your decision between call review and the other vendor?
That it's been a couple years, but I can tell you that the call review tool, we'd ask the other vendor, does your tool do this or this? And I don't remember specifically what it was, but they would say, no, but it's in development. And I love it when a vendor tells you that that's in development. And we all know tools evolve, and call review, I'm sure, even has, features that are in development, probably from some of the conversations we've had with things we've asked for with Holly. But You know, there was too many in development answers to the other provider that were things Call Review had already integrated into their tool. So it was probably the most mature. It had a strong dealer engagement count. So it wasn't like, we're part of a startup that might have some growing pains. We knew we needed to get into the business and get in there quickly to start to shore up these missed opportunities. And once we did our due diligence and reaching out to fellow dealers and just asking them, why do you guys use them? Why did you choose them? Are they delivering on what they said they would? It was a high quantity of those dealers were very pleased, and that helped guide us to the decision that Call Review was the right partner.
You mentioned fixed ops. How has Call Review helped with managing your service calls?
Well, service has been such a big part of our business in the last couple of years. Has really grown significantly. I mean, people without having the ability to buy a new car, they're hanging on their cars longer. So all of our service departments have risen in RO count and throughput. So, managing those fixed ops calls is really valuable. I know the sales calls get all the focus because it's sales, but the fixed ops side is really critically important. I actually grew up in the fixed ops side of the business. Not to digress, but I got an accounting degree and got out of college, and I thought I was just going to take my dad's job because it looked pretty easy. But he decided I need to spend a little time in fixed ops. So after 3.5 years back there, I figured out how important that was to our business. And even today, I understand that the challenge we have with our customers, up front, they're happy. They're coming in to solve a need, and they're going to get a new car or used car, and it's an exciting event. The service side is a challenge because something's not right. It's either the inconvenience of having maintenance performed or their car's malfunctioning. And we need to make sure we address those issues. As technology has evolved, it's more difficult because some of these issues that they're having with their vehicle in service, they're technology based. So those calls can be frustrating because they're saying, well, it did this, the screen flashed or this happened. And, to have them shoot a video and send it to you, I mean, what are we doing here? You've just got to get them in and get connected with them as quickly as possible. And so for us, focusing on those fixed ops alerts has really proven to be valuable. Parts side, same thing. Those guys have, they're good. Parts advisors aren't maybe our best salespeople. They sometimes are a little intimidated to ask for the sale. That's what we've gotten better at. Our guys are now saying, we've got it, and I've got it in stock, and you can have it. When can you be here to get it? As opposed to, yeah, I've got, it's this much. Thanks for calling. We've gotten better at taking those inquiries and turning those into sales, both across the parts counter and the service drive. So I think the service advisors have also grown in this process and understand when they hear their calls, man, it's sobering at times for them to go, wow, I thought I did a better job than that. I got to get better at this or this. So they've really grown as we focused in on the fixed ops side as well.
Great. Are the alerts helping to save deals that you could have lost prior to having their system?
No doubt they have. And I think that really comes from, we just didn't know. Somebody calls in, asks to talk to a sales consultant, gets transferred. Maybe they get a voicemail. They don't leave a voicemail. We weren't organized or didn't use technology well enough in our store to hit that callback button and try and recapture that customer. The alert system through Call Review has significantly improved that leakage and helped us pick up, deals we never would have gotten before. You hope the customer would have said, I'll just drive over, and maybe we picked them up that way. But when you call them right back and they're in their car and they've got that question top of mind and you're able to answer it and assess their needs and find out what they really are trying to accomplish and then find a way to get them into the store, finding those missed opportunities that we didn't see before, tremendously valuable for our company and something that I don't see how in the future we move forward without this kind of visibility, because if you miss those opportunities, they're going someplace else. And customers' loyalty is not there like it used to be, and they'll shift brands and shift dealers quicker than we can catch them. So hanging on to what you got and making sure you don't miss them, that's really the key.
For a dealer that's looking to make a call tracking system change, what would you recommend to them in helping them evaluate a solution that would work best for them?
I think you open the door, you look at all providers. In our case, Call Review bubbled to the top, right? Because We felt like they were the best partner for us, given the research we'd done and in watching their tool. And we test drove it for 90 days. So, it's really important. I think vendors are open to allowing dealers to have an assessment period. I mean, most of them have gone to a contract period, and then it's a month to month after that. So, it's all performance based. If they don't deliver, then they're not our partner anymore. But for us, the due diligence we did, we looked at three, started with three, narrowed it down to two, and test drove two, one in the Nissan store call review, and then we did another one at one of our other stores. And after that period of time, it told us in real time which tool was most productive, and it was the one that our people felt most comfortable with, because oftentimes you plug on a tool in your system, and trust, we have so much complexity. We're engaging and navigating through so many different tools. Bolting another one on top doesn't always work. You've got to really be open to the fact that your people have to fully embrace it. And this was a group decision. We brought all the managers and the leadership team together, said, which tool do we want to go with? And we looked at the pros and cons. And I wouldn't say it was my decision. It was the team's decision that call review was the solution that we wanted to pursue. So it's worked out really, really well. And they've delivered on the after sales support that's so critical for us. It's what we needed to see. And we've seen nothing but positive results.
Perfect. Charlie, thank you so much for the nuggets and knowledge that you brought to us during this webinar. I mean, it's very impactful and we truly appreciate it. I would like to remind our audience that a recording of this webinar will be available on the AutoSuccess website in the next few days. Feel free to log in, share it with your coworkers, encourage your friends to view it. Also, look for a follow-up email directing you to the on-demand version. This concludes our webinar. Thank you for your time. I also wanted to mention that if we did not answer your question during the Q&A portion, Charlie and the call review team will make sure that they reach out to you and get those questions answered. We appreciate it. Charlie, thank you. Audience, thank you. Everyone have a great afternoon.
Thanks, guys.